I am 83 years old. I have lived my entire life in a small suburb of Ohio where the winters are freezing, but the fall is breathtaking. I had a home with my wife, Carol, who was with me for 52 years before she died of cancer. We raised two children, a boy and a girl, both of whom are now married and living in other cities. I say this not to complain, but to let you understand, I used to have a peaceful life, not a burden to anyone. I could still walk, cook, and take care of myself. But then one day, after slipping in the bathroom and being hospitalized for a few days, my children started talking about moving to a nursing home. They told me it would be a safer place, with 24/7 care, good food, a doctor nearby. And at that time, I was tired, I was weak, and I didn't want to argue. I agreed. Just a few months, I thought. I'll go home when I'm better. But you know what? It's been almost 3 years now, and I still haven't been back. And I'm not sure I'll ever get the chance to go back. I'm not telling you this to scare you or to whine. I'm telling you this because I wish someone had told me what I'm about to tell you today, before I walked into that room with the white walls, the old wooden cabinets, and the single bed that wasn't mine. So if you're 65, 70, or 75, and your kids are starting to suggest nursing home, or if you're thinking about it yourself, listen to the end. I'm going to share with you 6 things I wish I'd known sooner. Each of these is not preachy, but real-life experience. No book, no exaggeration. It is the feeling of someone who has lived his whole life in freedom, and then one day has to live according to someone else's schedule. And if after listening to this first part, you think what I'm about to say can help someone you love, click like, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with them, because I believe life after 70 years old should not start with regret. I didn't know I'd lose my autonomy so quickly. The first day I went into the nursing home, I didn't think things would change so quickly. Honestly, I thought I was still me, just living in a different place, with help, that's all. They put me in a small room, clean, with a single bed, dark wooden cabinets, and a window overlooking the back lawn. It didn't look too bad. But the next morning, I realized something. I no longer had control over my own day. In the morning, a nurse knocked on the door and came in. She spoke softly, but did not ask if I wanted to get up. "Mr. Harold, it's time to check your blood pressure." I was still half asleep, eyes closed, and had no idea what time it was, when the cuff was wrapped around my arm. At breakfast, they wheeled the food cart up to my room. On the tray were scrambled eggs, 2 slices of white bread, a glass of orange juice, and that was it. I looked around, about to ask if I could have oatmeal or pancakes, but then I remembered this wasn't my house. Before, every morning I used to make a pot of coffee with my old Mr. Coffee machine, choose my own toast, or cook an omelet with spinach. Simple things that made me feel in control of my life. And here, everything is set for everyone. There is no Harold's way anymore. I wanted to go for a walk in the yard, but I wasn't allowed to go out without someone, and the staff were constantly busy. Want to shower? You had to book a time. One day, when it was my turn, the hot water was gone. I asked if I could wash my own clothes, using the same detergent I was used to. They said, "We use the same type. Please understand." I slowly realized my life was no longer in my control. I used to be in control of everything, from my bedtime to my morning shave. Now I'm just following a pre-made schedule designed for the masses, no one in particular. I had a roommate named George, a quiet old man who had been a carpenter in Kansas. He told me that before he came here, he used to wake up at 6 every morning to fix things in the garage. But here, there was nothing to fix, and no one to fix. One day, I saw him holding his wristwatch, removing each small screw and then reassembling it, just to kill time. He looked at me, smiling sadly. I repair watches because there is nothing else to repair. And you know what I regret the most? It wasn't about eating food I didn't like. It wasn't about having to wait for someone to push the cart out to the yard. It was about losing the feeling of being in control of my own day. I'm not against having a caregiver, but I just wish someone had told me, once you step in here, everything will operate on someone else's clock, and you, gradually, will have to learn to give up the right to choose the seemingly small things that make you who you are. I don't think I'll be forgotten so quickly. I used to think I wouldn't be alone. My daughter Emily is a very affectionate person. Every time she calls, she asks me how I am eating, if I am cold, if I am sleeping well. When I was taken to the hospital, she was crying, holding my hand and promising, "Don't worry, Dad. I'll come by every weekend. I'll be there for sure, Dad." At that time, I believed it. How could I not believe it when he had personally bought me a phone with big, easy-to-press buttons, saved the family's numbers, and even pasted pictures of his 2 grandchildren on the wall of my closet? The first week I got 2 calls. The second week, a text saying, "I'm in a hurry." The third week, nothing but silence. I don't blame Emily. She has a husband, 2 kids, and a stressful accounting job. I get it. But I'll tell you what, I can't tell it. That silence kills me little by little. I had seen this happen to others, but I didn't think it would happen to me. I had a friend in the hospital named Helen Whitmore, a retired teacher with silky white hair, a measured way of speaking, who wrote birthday cards to all the residents on her floor. When she first came to the hospital, Helen received flowers every Saturday. Her son and grandson visited often, bringing apple pie and hand-drawn pictures from school. Each time she was so proud, as if to say to us, "I am still remembered." But then winter came. It snowed heavily, the roads were slippery. No one came anymore. I remember one afternoon, Helen sat in the family room, hugging a pink wool pillow, staring out the door. Every time someone passed, she looked up, hopeful. Then she looked down, disappointed. I sat down next to her, saying nothing. After a while, she turned to me and asked, "Mr. Harold, if I disappeared for a week, do you think anyone would notice?" I don't know how to answer that, because I ask myself that question every day. You can be in a room with hundreds of people and still feel invisible. You can be in a warm bed, well taken care of, and still feel left behind. I used to sit and stare at my phone, the one Emily bought, and wonder if I should call her. But then I thought, maybe he's in a meeting? Maybe he's cooking dinner for the kids. Maybe he'll call back on the weekend. And so I put the phone down. No call, just wait. That's the scariest thing about nursing homes. You become a name on a list, a room with a name tag, a health record, but no longer part of the family. If you are thinking about moving into a hospital, I urge you to ask yourself, am I strong enough to bear being forgotten, even by those closest to me? If the answer is no, think again. And if you are a child, a grandchild, watching this video, please don't wait for Thanksgiving or Christmas to remember your parents. A 5-minute call is enough to make them feel like they are still a part of this world. When I have no reason to wake up every morning, I used to be someone who always had a goal to get out of bed every day. When I lived at home, I did little things that made me feel needed. I planted flowers on the porch. I cleaned old picture frames over the fireplace. I walked to the post office 3 times a week to mail letters to old friends in Arizona. Sometimes I just made myself a cup of coffee, added a scoop of cream, sat at the kitchen table and flipped through the pages of the Columbus Dispatch. It may not sound like much, but for me, it's a reason to live. Yet, just a few weeks after being admitted to the hospital, I found myself lying in bed until 9 a.m. with nothing to motivate me to get up. No one to ask me to do anything. No more breakfast to prepare. No more people to call just to tell me how windy it was. I remembered Frank Mitchell, a close friend I had made during my first week in the hospital. Frank had been an auto mechanic. He had run his own shop in southern Indiana. His hands were black with grease, but he was good with a hammer. His fingers were calloused, and he was proud of it. Back home, Frank still fixed little things in the garage: broken vacuums, noisy refrigerators, lawn mowers that were about to break. It was fun, he told me, but everyone knew he did it to feel useful. When Frank went to the hospital, there was nothing left for him to fix. No tools, no screeching of over-tightened screws. No need for his hands anymore. I used to see him sitting for hours in the family room, holding the TV remote control, not pressing anything. Sometimes he would take out a piece of paper and draw a diagram of the machine, but after a few lines, he would put it back on the table. One time I asked, "Why don't you play chess with the old people in the recreation room?" Frank smiled, a hollow smile. "What's the point of playing? It'll be the same thing again tomorrow." That's when I realized, here, time has no weight. You can sit in the hospital for 6 hours and nothing happens. Nothing to do. No one calls your name. No one needs you. Yesterday was like today, and it will probably be like tomorrow. I started to feel more tired, even without doing anything. It felt like my brain was shrinking. There were no more thoughts to think about, no one to ask for advice, nothing to prepare. One morning I sat up, looked in the mirror, and asked myself, how long has it been since I've seen my eyes light up for something? They say nursing homes are safe places. That may be true. But safe doesn't mean alive. Safety without a reason to be, that is not living. That is waiting. Wait for meals. Wait for medicine. Wait until someone remembers you're on the 3rd floor, at the end of the hall. If you are considering moving into a nursing home, I urge you to ask yourself, what makes me want to get up every morning? And then ask, do I still have that? Because if the answer is no, then you are giving up too much, more than your house, your old armchair, or your favorite garden. You are losing the very motivation to live. When my body got weak without even realizing it, there was one thing I didn't expect when I first moved into the hospital. The physical deterioration happened so quickly that I didn't realize it until it was too late. I remember clearly, before I came here, I went grocery shopping by myself. I had a list posted on the refrigerator, and every Saturday I drove my old Buick to the Safeway near my house. I pushed the cart slowly, picking out each tomato, each bunch of cilantro, and then brought it home, carefully packing each item in the refrigerator. I cook alone, even if it's just a small meal, boiled eggs, salad, a slice of grilled chicken. I like to prepare it myself. And most importantly, I still walk out into the yard by myself, tending to the lavender bushes Carol planted 10 years ago. I feel good. I feel like I have the strength to live. But then, after just 2 months of living in the hospital, I realized that I was sitting more than walking. Not because I'm lazy, but because everything here is pre-made. Want to eat? Someone will bring it to your room. Want to order a drink? Just ring the bell. Want to go somewhere? Someone will push the cart for you. At first I thought, oh, that's great. I'll take a break and get better. But that rest, day after day, made my legs weaker and weaker, to the point where I didn't even notice. Let me tell you about Alice, a woman with curly silver hair and a gentle smile who used to live in Boise, Idaho. When she first entered the hospital, she was the most diligent person on the floor. Every morning she would walk around the hallway, carrying a cane and wearing a tiny woolen cap. I clearly remember her saying to me that first morning, "I'm here to relax, I'm not just sitting around." But then, Just 2 months later, I saw her start using a walker. Another month, a wheelchair. By the 4th month, she was lying in bed more than sitting. One evening I asked her, "Alice, are you not going to the field today?" She just smiled, gently rubbing her knees. "I don't know, Harold. Maybe I'm just used to it." The words, "I'm used to it," cut like a knife. Do you know? When your body is no longer challenged, it begins to surrender. I used to sit for hours watching TV and not feel like getting up. The tingling sensation in my legs became familiar. When someone said, "Do you want to go out?" I found myself hesitating, not because I didn't want to, but because I was used to sitting. That's the most dangerous thing about being in a hospital. They take such good care of you that you can't take care of yourself anymore. I don't blame anyone. The staff here are nice, kind, and always willing to help, but because of that, you start to believe, someone else has done it, I don't need it anymore. Then one day, you really can't do it anymore. So if you are thinking, "I will feel better and rest there," I beg you, ask yourself, am I willing to fight every day to keep my feet on the ground? Do I have the discipline to keep moving, even if no one forces me to? Do I dare to say no to comfort, to retain my independence? Once you let go, your body will let go too, and when you want to get it back, it will not go back to the way it was before. When I no longer have a corner for myself, there is one thing I can't forget. That was the first evening I wanted to take a bath in the hospital but had to wait my turn. I'm not a picky person, but for over 70 years, I've been used to having my own space, doing my own thing, my own way. I never imagined I'd have to ask someone for permission to shower when I wanted, and yet it happens, and every day. I remember clearly that evening I had just finished dinner and wanted to take an early shower to relax. I pressed the call button and waited. 20 minutes later, a young female employee leaned in and said, "Uncle Harold, please wait a little longer. There are many people who need to shower right now. It's your turn after 8 o'clock." I just nodded. Then I went back to sit on the bed. The room light was on, the door was ajar, and I felt like I was living in someone else's room. I used to have a bedroom at home. It was small, but it was my own space. I had an armchair by the window where I read the morning paper. There was a picture of Carol on the dresser. There was an old radio that played 60s country music every night. That was my nest. Still in hospital? The room had a nameplate on the door. The wardrobe had to be divided in two. One day, while I was sleeping, the medical staff knocked on the door and walked in without waiting for me to answer. I know they do it out of duty. I know they don't mean it. But the feeling of being interrupted, of being violated, it's not pleasant. Even small things like getting dressed, changing a diaper, or waiting for help to change the sheets, it all makes me feel like I'm not myself. Do you know what hurts an old man like me the most? It's not that the food isn't delicious. It's not that no one comes to visit. It's that you lose control of your body and your personal space. I used to go to the bathroom by myself, dress myself, close the door if I wanted some peace and quiet. Now, there are days when I have to wait for someone to wipe me down, wait for someone to put on my pajamas, even wait for their permission to go into the bathroom. And that's when I started to feel like I was losing my dignity. Let me tell you a story about Leonard, a veteran who used to live on my floor. He was a very reserved man, always neat and tidy. He used to say, "I may be weak, but I still want to keep myself respected." But after a few months, I saw that he began to change. He no longer combed his hair as carefully as before. He no longer adjusted his shirt as carefully. One time he even said to me, "I don't even feel like this is my room anymore. They come and go like a motel." That's what I want to warn you about. If you're considering hospital admission, not only do you lose physical autonomy, but you may also lose your sense of self. Ask directly where you intend to enter. Can I choose my shower time? Have your own room, or do you have to share with others? Do staff knock and wait for an answer before entering the room? Can the room door be locked when privacy is needed? If they answer in a roundabout way, understand that your privacy will be the first thing that is compromised. I thought I could leave whenever I wanted. It wasn't so. When I first moved into a nursing home, I reassured myself with a simple thought. Just a few months. When I get better, I'll be back. I am not a pessimist. I believe that things can change if I try. So when my daughter, Emily, said that it would be easier to recover from her fall here, I nodded. In my mind, I thought simply, if it doesn't work out, we can go back home. The house is still there. But there are things that are no longer there. I used to live in a small 2-bedroom house outside Dayton, Ohio. Not modern, not fancy, but it was where Carol and I built it over 40 years. Every corner of the wall, every scratch on the wood floor, every creak of the stairs, it was a part of my life. But while I was in the hospital, the house began to change. My son had someone come and clean it. Some of the furniture was sold because no one was using it. The old bed I used to nap in was given to the neighbors. Then I heard they were considering renting it out because it was a waste to leave it empty. I don't blame them, really. They thought they were helping me. But the truth is, every decision was made without me there. By the time I wanted to go home, I realized I had nowhere to go back to. I also don't have the same energy as before. After just a few months of not going to the market, not cooking, not doing small things myself, I lost my confidence. Even climbing a few stairs made me tired. I started to fear, what if I fall again? What if there is no one beside me? I, who used to drive across state lines alone at age 60, now hesitate to even get out of bed. I didn't realize how much weaker I was until I tried to get up alone and couldn't. And then I started to feel stuck. I know many people have said, if it doesn't work out, we'll leave. But they were like me. When they wanted to leave, there was nowhere else to go. Let me tell you the story of Mr. Benjamin, a 78-year-old New Yorker. He also went to the hospital with the idea of temporary stay. His house was only a 10-minute drive from the hospital, but after only a year, his son sold the house to pay for the hospital bills. When Mr. Benjamin heard the news, he only said one sentence as light as the wind. So, I officially belong here. Not everyone can leave when they want to. Some do so for financial reasons. Some do so because they are too weak. Some because there is no one else left outside the hospital. If you are considering entering a nursing home and think, if you don't like it, I'll leave, I beg you, think twice. Once you get in, leaving isn't as simple as opening the door and walking out. You need your health. You need your home ready. You need your finances. And most importantly, you need someone to pick you up. Not everyone has that. I wish I had understood that. Nursing homes are not hotels. Not every incompatible room can be checked out. Going home is not always an available option. Once you go through this gate, you will most likely never go back. Conclusion. My last confidence. From someone who is on the other side of the boundary. I don't write these things to scare you. I write them to make you see clearly what I didn't see. Nursing homes are not bad. Some are very good. Some people really need them. But if you can still live in your own home, if you still have children who love you, if you can still walk, cook, and talk, please don't give up your life for the sake of convenience. Find ways to stay at home. Ask a neighbor. Hire hourly care. Upgrade your bathroom. Ask for community support. Just don't give up too soon, because once you let go, it will be difficult to get it back. If you've ever considered nursing home care, give yourself some time. And if someone you love is facing that decision, send them this video. My words may be exactly what they need to hear right now. Finally, if you want to continue listening to real stories from people who have lived long enough to understand the value of each decision, subscribe to the channel. I will come back and continue telling you the things that no paper will teach you, no news will remind you, but time will show you. Those are the most important things.